Good morning.
Good morning.
Great is thy thankfulness. And thank you, Gilbert, for acknowledging uh, Naoko, who many of us knew and loved. And that was really special. Thank you. So, bright beginnings is the theme for the month. And it's getting brighter and brighter every day. Brighter and brighter every day. And the fire in the belly being the topic for the week. It's one of those expressions that gets tossed around religious science. I'm not sure if anybody knows where those kinds of things start or what they really mean. But this one actually was a Ernest Holmes, as far as I know, was an Ernest Holmes statement. And what it means is to truly, truly, I guess if you want to say painfully, fire in the belly, to have a commitment to something and feel it so deeply within you that it causes you to move forward and do something with whatever the thought, the issue, the what is currently creating something deep within you, within your beingness. So looking at that from the point of view of religious science perspective this morning that Lynette so graciously read for us, we listen, this is in the kind of sort of in the middle here. We listen to the fire in our belly to connect to what is ours to do in the world. And when I think about that, especially nowadays, I think beyond the world being so huge, the globe, every country, every person, everything to do something about. And I've begun to look at my own world, perhaps maybe because I'm in it, physically in it. I'm at home. I'm not rushing around doing this, going here, going there, doing this and doing that. I'm in my own world. And I truly believe that I have begun to focus more on myself, which is not a negative thing to do. I've called forth more questions to others, companies that, now what is that charge that's on my bill? Or I see that there's a plan that can assist me with this or assist me with that I literally had piled up of things to do. And that's my world. And that's very important to me as to what's going on in my world beyond what the television is telling me. And I find that it's very satisfying. So connecting with your own world, connecting with who you are. And the next sentence is, we are each perfect emanations of the divine. Okay. Continuing on, co-creating with the divine to make our mark on the world. I know all about that. I think most of us do. Again, concentrating backwards to myself, what and where was I focusing to make a mark? When I think about it, I think about making a mark literally that others could see. And now making a mark means completing things that maybe nobody else knows that I did. Making a mark in the expansion of my meditations every morning. making a mark in what I choose to follow on the news. It seems that now, currently, if I hear it at, I won't say 8 because you all know I don't get up early. I'll say if I hear it on the 9 to 10 o'clock news, I don't have to listen to the 12 o'clock news. I don't have to listen to the 4 o'clock news. I don't have to listen to the 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think 11 is my peak, has been my peak. I don't have to do that anymore. That's a mark that I mark down for my world that is very positive. I have shifted from staring at what used to be a 12-inch screen to now, I think my biggest is 32 or so. But to just staring at that box with someone repeating what they already told me at 9 o'clock in the morning. And somehow between 9 o'clock in the morning and 11 o'clock at night, there's some very interesting things that are said. And you know what? Most of them, if they make a mark, I want to erase them. So that's a blessed mark for me, is moving forward and not being tied to the news that's going on. Obviously, I want to know what's going on. But once I hear it, I kind of got it. So I don't have to do that over again. But what I do over again is my spiritual practices. And that too makes a mark, makes a very deep mark, makes a mark on my ability to not want to have to watch the news 5 or 6 times a day. So the marks that I'm making on my world are being aware of who I am, connecting more with my family. My church family is here, very easy to touch base with, very easy to see if I choose to. My human family is in California, in Chicago. Let me see, I guess that's about the 2 base places that we are. So I have created a family touch base. Let's touch base, at least within 2 weeks. So it's not a human hug session, but it's a session on the internet. It's a session with a call. It's a session with another good mark on what I'm doing for myself. I know I'm good. I know I'm fine. I know I have my church family that's here to support me, but I know they're fine. And then they in turn know I'm fine. And to be honest, that part of my existence was kind of shaky and kind of distant. And becoming aware of how important it is to know who's well, how everybody's doing, that mark of keeping in contact with my family has become a very deep mark and a very positive mark for me. So as I co-create with the divine to make a mark on the world, I make a mark by using my mask, which very, very stylish one that Jackie Lawson sewed, and it's very stylish, has words on it. So I find people reading the bottom of my face. You know, I don't know about you. I just love the masks because some of them are really very interesting. So anyhow, getting back to this, we are in choice each day to be our best and to do our best as beings, contributing and showing up in the world as God. That last sentence, in the last part there, and showing up in the world as God. I found, for me, one of the, I call it hard, but I don't mean hard like algebra is hard for me. I mean hard as knowing that it's okay to say, hard as accepting the fact that I can say it. And that is showing up in the world as God. Wow. Being a young person, well, child who's raised as Catholic, I don't think I remember ever any nun, any priest, any gospel or epistle or lesson that said to me, "You are God." And to think that I could show up in the world as God, it was not something that the mental acceptance, the physical essence of that was simple to do. But now it is simple, it is easy, it is my truth. And it's every single one of us to take the essence and the time and some of this marking that we're doing nowadays, to take time to perhaps reflect and say it gently if it's something that's a little difficult for you. Say it gently. I am showing up in the world as God. 3 times. That's supposed to be the cure for implanting something in the brain. I am showing up in the world as God. I am showing up in the world as God. Wow. Okay, you did it once, so you can do it again and again and again. And if you need some assistance along those lines, on page 358 in the Science of Mind textbook, and it's Finding the Christ. This is the area that this reference is from the Science of Mind. Finding the Christ. There is a place in the mentality. Got to get it into your mind. There is a place in the mentality, in the heights of its greatest realizations, where it throws itself with complete abandon into the very center of the universe. That sentence sounds a little strange. I'm going to go back up to the next paragraph where it starts. And this is what we're implanting with the next sentence that I already read. Sorry about that. We must forget everything else and let our world be spoken with a deep inner realization of love, beauty, peace, poise, power, and the great presence of life at the point of our own consciousness. The point of our own consciousness. Then this sentence really, really fits and applies. There is a place in the mentality, in the heights of its greatest realizations, where it throws itself with complete abandonment into the very center of the universe. This is where we're making our mark, the universe, in our world. And if you make a mark about anything in your own world, it's going to be reflected into the outer world. And if you are true to the knowingness that God is all there is, what is inner is the outer. What is the outer is the inner. There's only one thing going on. There is a point in the supreme moment of realization where the individual merges with the universe, but not to the loss of his individuality. Not to the loss of his individuality. And we can say her there also. where a sense of the oneness, and oneness is capitalized, where a sense of the oneness of all life, capital L-I-F-E, God, so enters his being that there is no sense of otherness. No sense of otherness. It is here that the mentality performs seeming miracles, because there is nothing to hinder the whole from coming through. And whole, W-H-O-L-E. Nothing to hinder the whole from coming through. God is all there is nothing more. How does that song go? God is all there is, there was nothing more. It has always been as it was before. It's close enough. We can do this only by providing the mental equivalence of life, the mental equivalence of God, by dwelling and meditating upon the immensity of life, of God, and the fact that as vast, as immense, I mean, this is quoting some big stuff, vast, as immense, as limitless as it is, as God is, the whole of it is brought to the point of our own consciousness. Whew. That's Ernest Holmes. That's one paragraph of finding the Christ from this book, from The Science of Mind. If you have one and it's should not be ever sitting on the shelf collecting dust, take it down, dust it off, and turn to page 358. If you don't have the book, you can get it online. You can call us and you can send us a check, and we will trust you, and we will mail it out as soon as you send us your name and address, even before we get the check. It's a wonderful book to have if you are inclined toward being a newbie with us in religious science. It is a must to have if you are following the principles of religious science. Just to pick it up, let the book fall open to a page, and you will be enlightened about whatever you are thinking about. You don't have to be a religious scientist to read it or to understand it, but it will bless your life. So moving on from that one paragraph that was read by Lynette, look at all the information that's in there about showing up in the world as God. It's okay. It's okay to know. Jesus said, know that ye are gods. And paraphrasing totally, that we can do the same thing. We can do the same thing as the Christhood can do because we are it. And what kind of laws and rules and understandings of our life do we have to follow besides positive stuff? Good things, good thoughts, loving things, creative things, wholeness. What a way to live. Isn't that wonderful? It's wonderful, wonderful. So moving on to the notes that you have, those of you that have gotten the information that Susie so wonderfully sends out for us and coordinates for us, we are all here on purpose, the title of the talk today. So we have a call to action. I kind of switched it around this week, putting the call to action before some other information, because I actually picked up this call to action off of a website, and I can't remember which religion it was. That doesn't really matter. But why do we think that we can read and study and be very intellectual about the words that we're reading and we're quoting, and oh yes, I know that? What good is it going to do you if you don't use it? If you don't use it, I have shared this with you, Jerry. I'm sharing it with everybody. I have an iPad that was gifted to me maybe 15 years ago. And since we're coming into age here in our church and doing, computer things and all, and I said, Jerry, I've got an iPad that we could use, and we can use it to show Gilbert over there, and we don't have to move the camera. So he assisted me, took several days, of course, assisted me in finding out about how to turn this iPad back on. Jerry's here, folks. Jerry, I finally connected with Apple Incorporated. My iPad is so old. They don't even back it up anymore. They don't back it up anymore. OS or OSI. And the gentleman was so kind. Well, and he called me June. Well, June, I can't find any information on how that you can use that. And my dumb statement was, oh, I can't turn it on anymore, and I can't take it to a store and have them show me how to turn it on. No, ma'am. So I could go around and say, which I did quite often, I have an iPad. It's got a nice red cover on it. You know what it's good for? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I didn't even buy it. It was a gift. Did I use it? Maybe I used it during the course that it was given to me for. It was at least 15 years ago, at least. What a waste. What a waste. Why do we do it? Why do I can't say we, because maybe you don't do those things. Not sure. Kind of think you do. But if you read, and this title up here says, Finding the Christ. Today, April 26, 2020, we need to find the Christ more than we certainly needed even 4 months ago. And we know this. We know there's a reason why. So don't let this time go by without finding the Christ, without finding that you can say that I can show up as God in the world. Please don't let this time be wasted. So in this call to action, as you move beyond this time together and head into this coming week, this week in your life, not my life, not because I said something, but because something has struck you, has struck your world. So in this life, notice what stirs in you. Notice if you get a fire in your belly. Notice if when you're sitting and looking out your window, that there is, whatever it is, spring, we currently know we can have snow, as we did last week, whether it's sunny. Notice if there is a sign of life outside of your window. If you look outside of your window and you see, you can't not see nothing, because if you can see, you're going to see something. If it takes just looking up at the sky, seeing clouds, either blue clouds or gray clouds or white clouds, or if it takes looking at your grass, or if it takes looking at a tree, or if it takes looking at a car going by, if it takes looking at cement or a street, whatever it is, it's something. It's there. And you're in a place that is sheltered. I would say 99.9% of us are sheltered within somewhere. So notice what's around you. Notice your world. Maybe you spoke to a relative. Maybe you spoke to a friend. Maybe you didn't speak to a relative. Maybe you didn't speak to a friend. But notice what's going on, and where do you need to see a need? Or where do you need to see an absence? To see a need or see an absence that calls you forward into action. It says that right here on your notes. You can read it again. You can read it later today. You can hang it up, cut that little part out, hang it up on your refrigerator, hang it up on your mirror to remind yourself, to notice, to look and see what's going on in the world that brings a fire to your belly. Not looking at the news that gives you a fire, that gives you indigestion. I know about that too. So fulfillment in your world. So on page 289 in The Science of Mind, second paragraph, going to read again. Okay, where shall we start? I'll start at the top. Second paragraph. Never let anything cause you to doubt your ability to demonstrate the truth. Truth has a capital T, to demonstrate God. This is all in capitals, every single word. Conceive of your word as being the thing as being God. Continues on, not in capitals. See the desire as already accomplished fact, and rest, calm down, just rest in perfect confidence, peace, and certainty, never looking for results. Oh, that's a rough one. Never looking for results, never wondering, never becoming anxious, never being hurried nor worried. Take a deep breath. I'll read it again. Rest in perfect confidence, peace, and certainty, never looking for results. Can we do that? Never looking for results, never wondering, never anxious. Can I do that? Never being hurried nor worried. Those who do not understand this attitude may think you are inactive, but remember, they may think that you're like a lump on a tree limb. They may think you're a do-nothing stool. That's my father's expression. They may think that you're just sitting there, that you don't know anything, that you're really not processing. See, that's what's called judgment, but that doesn't make it right. To him who can perfectly practice in action, all things are possible. Can you practice in action? Do we always have to know the answer? Do we always have to jump to a conclusion? When you jump to the conclusion, must you be right? You know, this is the self talking to the self. Because these statements, I say them, I read them to you. It's got to mean something within inside of me, just as it has to mean something within each and every one of you. To him who can perfectly practice in action, all things are possible. Showing up in the world as God. Jesus was not a flamboyant man. He wore sandals. He had dusty feet. He wore robes. He walked everywhere he went. Didn't take a jet. Didn't get in his Cadillac or his Honda or his whatever. He was patient. He spoke softly, as far as at least he's depicted as such. He didn't comb his hair very often, I don't think. It's kind of long. But he was a quiet man. When he spoke, again, as it's depicted, as he spoke, he was listened to by those lumps on the log. He was listened to by those who were sitting and being aware of his truth. In the era of the Christ, his followers did not jump to conclusions, not many times. They made some decisions that weren't quite kosher, we might say, but don't we all? Did he not forgive and forgive and forgive and continue and continue and continue to be who he was? To bring forth in a gentle way, in a quiet way, in a continuous way, the truth of God? Show up in the world as God. Can we continuously know without trying to know the answer, but to know that the answer is within the question, to know that we are safe, to know that we are true, to know that we are expressing God 24/7, 365. Every breath that we take, every breath we take, every blink of an eye, every sneeze, every laugh, every word that manages to come from the brain, however it goes through the little senses and all those kinds of words that I don't know the true expression to say. Every time you think, you blink your eye, you breathe, you are trusting and knowing that you are God. Because do you pull out the book that has the directions, or do you call the man that knows about the iPad more than you do and find out that you don't work anymore? That your senses are not working? Because if your senses are not working and you don't know it, that means that you're in another plane, on another plane. So as long as you're thinking, as long as you're knowing, as long as you're speaking, as long as you're blinking your eyes, as long as you're taking a breath, you're showing up in the world as God. Whew. I know some of you are saying, I guess that's true. Keep on knowing it, because it is. It's true. So moving right along and reading, never being hurried nor worried. Boy, oh boy. Woo, that's like an affirmation. Let's turn it into an affirmation. I am never being hurried nor worried. Ooh. That's what I got to remember to use. Those who do not understand this attitude may think you are inactive. Do people always have to know what your opinion is? I mean, I catch myself, it's usually after the fact. You know, somebody tells me something, and I'm a good listener and I listen, and you know what I do? I give an example of the same thing that happened to me. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. I can be inactive. Say it 3 times so I remember. I can be inactive. I can be inactive. I can be inactive. And I can show up in the world as God. I can be accepting. I can be trusting. I can be honoring of every single person on this planet. And this is a quote: to be him who perfectly, to him who can perfectly practice in action, all things are possible. All things, not some things, not every once in a while things, but all things are possible. So divine purpose. You are right where you are supposed to be in this moment. That's probably very easy to consider right this moment because you're either here in the sanctuary, there's a few of us here, or you're at your computer or you're on your telephone and it's Sunday morning and you know you are being correct. You're Sunday morning, you're in a service, you're in a church service. So you know you are exactly in the right place at this moment. You know, this moment is the truth for every single moment that we breathe. There's some experiences, it says it right here, if you read your notes, all the experiences that got us here and all the circumstances around us right now are powerful expressions of our thoughts. This is where the rub comes in. That's what I call it. Always in the right place at the right moment. Okay? So what if, you know what the what ifs are? We all have them. What if thus and so begins to happen and you're thinking about it or you wind up in it? I say in it because it doesn't have to be a place. It just can be doing it up here in your mind. What if you wind up somewhere and you know for all that you can be, you do not want to be there, you don't want to experience, you don't want to have it happen, all of those thoughts. And you say, can you say, I am in the right place at the right moment? I am expressing as God. I am God expressing. Can you say that? It's not always easy. And I can say that for true because I know that for myself. I cannot speak for you. I can speak for myself. So moving on here, we know that if we go out into the world each day thinking that we are wonderful, valuable, I like that one, valuable human beings, we seek evidence of that in the world. Seeking it, knowing it, thinking it, living it, accepting it as truth. That is what your life is. That is what your life is. That is what your life is. It is the divinity of who you are. It is God expressing itself. So, what about things that show up that Oh no, that's not me. That's not me at this moment. That's not me at this as this experience. That's not me as this. That's not me. That's not right. That's somebody else. How can it be somebody else when it's your thoughts that's creating it? How did I get here? Okay. That's a good one. The how did I's are really nice. But if you say them, you've got to examine them. So how can you decide how you got there? Got to use the old nagun. You've got to look at your own life. You've got to look at what you're thinking about. You've got to look at what you're focusing on and decide, is this me showing up in the world as God? And the joy and the pleasure and the wonderfulness of all of this is that the truth of you is, yes, I'm showing up as God because I have the wisdom, I have the strength, I have the power, I have the energy, I have the knowingness that all that is within me is God, that I am an emanation of it. And you can shift and you can change and you can move forward and be that valuable person. And you can be that wonderful person. And you can make a mark on your soul. You can make a mark on your life. And you can figure out what is mine to do. So as you connect with God, you are the only person that knows what is yours to do. And as you continue in this life, be aware of how, when you express yourself, either what you say, how you move, where you choose to go, whom you choose to have in your experience, decide the value. Everybody's valuable. Some things are more valuable sitting on a shelf than they are sitting in the middle of your floor as you're walking around, especially at night when you want to get up. And you got shoes all over the floor and you can't walk because you can't see and you're stepping on stuff and it hurts your feet. I mean, it's that simple. If you want your joy and your space in your life to be wonderful, then make it wonderful. Create it to be wonderful. Create it to have an understanding. On page 583 in the textbook again, I wrote the word demand down. Just a second. 583, demand. To make a demand upon the universe merely means to request, claim, or to accept some good which heretofore we have not been experiencing. When do we demand something? Think about it. Like I was doing this week. I was calling and I was demanding my rights. I was demanding that such and such be done because I pay that bill and I want that service. I'm demanding that that happen for me. Felt big, felt good. What do we demand of ourselves? See, me demanding that was because, going back to the beginning, I am taking the time to make a mark on what happens in my world. So if you want to have things happen in your world, think about the world demand. Think about what you want your life to be as it unfolds. Don't sit like a lump on a log. You can be quiet, but you can be powerful. You can know what you want. You can go within and meditate. You can go within and pick up a book. You can go within and call a practitioner or a minister or look at a religious program or anything that will enliven you, that will kick you in the you know what and make you get up and make a demand. What do you want your life to be? What do you want it to look like? What difference do you want to have? What is that fire in your belly that is pushing you forward? Doesn't matter. I shoulda, coulda, oughta, woulda done this before. Before is gone. If you want to do it, if you want to shift your life, if you want to be a valuable person, if you want to be happy, if you want to have happiness around you as you demand it. D-E-M-A-N-D. Demand what it is that you want to have happen in your life. So what is mine to do? The first sentence in this note is that moment of recognition for us to connect with what's mine to do can come through, not just come to you, but come through like a wave in our lives. It can also arrive in small doses where one day we realize that we are making a difference in the world around us. That's a wonderful thing. It just feels so good when you see someone or you have been around someone and you create happiness in their life. Just a simple smile is enough. We don't need the accolades and the pats on the back and the money. You know, all that's wonderful. But just knowing that that fire in your belly has created you to move and become more than a lump on a log, which I'm sorry to say, that's not what I'm calling you. But if you are not doing something this day and age and current time that we have, if you are not doing something to better yourself, must do it for yourself first. Better your life, better someone else's life. Think about demanding that you do. So, are we at the right time? Has it been that time already? Okay, I'm going to stop because I can go on and on and on. But before I stop, I want to give you some page references. 358.2, demand is on page 583. It's in your glossary. And page 279.2 and page 289.2. References and page 358.1 in your Science of Mind textbook. It's so wonderful being able to just share the Christ consciousness within us, with everybody. And again, I just have to praise and thank our Jerry Lawson, because we have worked him in a frenzy, literally getting us to this point. And it is a blessing for us. So I'm going to move into spiritual mind treatment. And at this time, we have two practitioners with us, and Lynette is on the line with us today. And all your prayer requests, again, I let you know that you can send them in to our website if you choose. I'm sorry, not our website, but into our email. And that is it's administration@MCSL cleveland.org. It's on the bottom of your information here. And it is confidential, and the prayer work is done by all of our practitioners. So as I move into this treatment, I'm going to move in with the words from the circle of protection. So if you are so inclined to center yourself, close your eyes if you're comfortable, touch your heart if you're comfortable, and knowing the circle of protection I draw around me, a circle of love and protection. No harm can enter nor find place within that charmed circle of life and love, for it represents God's loving care and eternal watchfulness. I will rest within me now, and I will speak comfort to my soul, and let it tell it of all the wonders of its life, safe from the din of the strife and fear. I am protected from on high. Those words are by Ernest Holmes. And the truth of this knowing is that I am one with God. And the truth also is that each and every person within the sight of me, within the sound of my voice, within this universal allness, everything, every animate and inanimate object is one with as God. And in this truth, knowing that God is all there is, speak your word. Speak your word directly into the mind and the heart of God. Know that what is spoken is received and is heard and is answered, and God never says no. God always says yes. So know and trust that in the knowing of your speaking, knowing of your asking, knowing of your recognition of all that is in your experience is by divine right yours to be, yours to have, yours to know, and yours to trust. Speak your heart into God's ear. Know and speak as God, to God. And knowing that this recognition is the full truth, the fire in your belly of who you are, because you are God divinely speaking to God. Accept the fact that the answer is already known. Be prepared. Be prepared. Be open. Be aware. And be aware that the answer is given unto you. Be able to recognize it, be able to caress it, to use it, to give it away. For God is all there is. We bless ourselves, we bless one another, and we truly give thanks for this time together, for this beingness of who we are. And we unfold ourselves in the heart and the purpose, knowing we have a purpose, in the heart, in the mind, in the purpose as God to God. I release these words knowing that they are the truth. And together let us say, and so it is. Amen, amen, and amen. So do we have time for another song, Jerry? Pardon me? Okay. Gilbert, would you do a short song for us? And we'll have our practitioner of the day back with us in a few minutes to do the invocation. Thank you, Gilbert. And as Lynette comes back up for us, I do want to close. True minister here. I'm going to close with the tithes and offerings, and just a great thank you and shout out to those of you who are mailing your tithes, your offerings, your God expressing his money into us and for us, and we truly bless it. And we have an usher that is ready to take collection here in the sanctuary. So if that reminder kind of prompts you to go and get your checkbook and write out those 0 checks, we accept them. We accept them with no zeros. We accept them with as many zeros as you choose. But we bless and we do thank you, and know that your tithes and offerings are what's assisting us in creating this new way of doing our service, and your prayers are blessing the entire planet as we know this situation is overcome now. So is Lynette with us? Okay, Lynette, thank you so much for doing this from your home. We bless you, and take good care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, and I just want to thank Reverend Jen for those beautiful words, and such a good reminder of that we are God's, and we can speak our word and demand and create our life the way we want it. And so just believe it. But anyways, now it comes to the benediction. So if you would please join me for the benediction. Divine Spirit, we just give thanks. We give great thanks for this sermon today. We give great thanks for this service and all that it was. And we give great thanks for the witnessing of just letting it all unfold for us so beautifully. And that we know that every bit of it we can use in our lives, and we can practice. And as we go on from this point forward, I just want to acknowledge that Earth Day was last Wednesday, and that I am so grateful that humanity has recognized our planet Mother Earth, to give it a day that the whole world honors. And so it should be more than just a day, even though it is a day on our calendar, but in our consciousness and in our expansion and in our awakening in our lives as we go forth from this coronavirus kind of shut in, that we create the world that we really desire, that we don't have to go back to the precedents of what it was. I've seen the pictures of the clean air from the different cities, and we know we can do this now. We know that we can have it this way. And so I know that I am moved to do more in this area of the environment. I just acknowledge our Mother Earth and all of the creatures and all of the beautiful wildlife and Mother Nature that we have here among us. And so we need to just do our parts in relationship with being in relationship with all that our Mother Earth is, being in relationship with the God within ourselves. We know that this is the first start of the relationship, the God within ourselves, and then we expand out to the relationship of others and loving each other and taking care of each other and our world and our life, and expressing God as God expressing we are. And I just give thanks for these words that Reverend June brought to us today to remind us that we are God expressing. And so I just bless each and every one of you as you go on to the next week, knowing that you are guided, guarded, directed, connected, and protected in all that you think, all that you say, all that you do, and in your holy, holy, total being, all is well. And so I release this prayer into the law of the mind of God, knowing that all good things are in effect, and we are one, holy, total in God. And I just let it be so. And together we say, and
so it is. Amen.
Thank you. This concludes our service for today. Thank you everyone for joining us wherever you come, wherever you are, and thank you for being here with us today. So thank you.